What if Anakin Skywalker had said no? What if, in that single heartbeat before the darkness took him, he chose the light instead? Would the Republic have survived or simply found a new way to fall? Would Padmé still live, or would destiny claim her another way? In this story, the galaxy shifts with one decision. The hero the stars were promised finally resists his fear and learns that staying good can be the hardest war of all. What if Anakin never turned to the dark side? Coruscant never slept, but tonight the city held its breath. Sirens braided the night like threads of light, while thunder rolled without storms. In a high office of glass and shadow, a young Jedi stared at a choice so sharp it could cut the galaxy in half. Anakin Skywalker closed his eyes and pulled his hand away from the darkness that promised to save everything he loved. "I am not your weapon," he whispered to the Chancellor. Then he turned, igniting a blue blade not for betrayal, but for truth. The air itself seemed to recoil. Chancellor Palpatine's grandfatherly mask didn't shatter. It dissolved layer by poisonous layer, revealing something ancient and hungry beneath. His eyes became pits of sulfur. The temperature in the room plummeted. "You disappoint me, young Skywalker." The voice was silk wrapped around razor wire. "I offered you everything, power to save her, to reshape destiny itself." Anakin's lightsaber hummed between them, steady despite the tremor in his hands. Behind his back, his other hand worked the comlink hidden in his belt. 3 clicks, the emergency signal. "Mace, Obi-Wan, come now." "You offered me chains disguised as freedom," Anakin said, buying precious seconds. "Tell me, Chancellor, or should I say my lord, if you're so certain the dark side can save Padmé, why do you hide it? Why the masks and shadows?" "Because the weak need their illusions." Palpatine rose from his chair with predatory grace. "But you've never been weak, have you? You've always known the Jedi Code was a prison. Attachment is not forbidden because it's wrong. It's forbidden because it's powerful. They fear what you could become." Lightning arced from Palpatine's fingertips without warning. Anakin's blade snapped up, catching the cascade of energy. Blue met violet white, and the windows cracked from the force of it. The impact drove Anakin back 3 steps, boots skidding on polished stone. "You could have stood beside me," Palpatine hissed, advancing. "Instead, you've chosen to watch her die." The visions rose in Anakin's mind, Padmé's face pale, her voice calling his name, life fading like a guttering candle. His grip tightened on his lightsaber. For one crystalline moment he teetered on the edge, then he remembered her words from the morning. "I believe in you, Annie, not the prophecy. You." "No," Anakin said. The word felt like bedrock. "I choose to trust her, to trust us." The office doors exploded inward. Mace Windu strode through, wreathed in smoke, violet blade already ignited with Obi-Wan Kenobi flanking him. Relief and determination warred in Obi-Wan's eyes. "Anakin," Obi-Wan said quietly, "step back." But Palpatine was already moving. The Chancellor's desk ripped from the floor and hurtled toward the Jedi Masters. They scattered, and in that instant, Palpatine shed his robes entirely. Beneath, he wore the vestments of a Sith Lord, crimson and black, ancient and terrible. "How convenient," Darth Sidious purred. "The Jedi come to assassinate a defenseless Chancellor. The Holonet will love this." "The only thing the galaxy will see," Mace growled, "is justice." The duel erupted like a supernova. Sidious moved impossibly fast, his crimson blade weaving patterns of death. Anakin found himself fighting beside his former master and mace, their blades singing in harmony. The room became a chaos of shattered furniture and scorched walls. Through the broken windows, news speeders were already circling like carrion birds, cameras recording everything. Sidious saw them too. His laughter was broken glass. Perfect. Let them see Jedi brutality. Let them see you try to murder me without trial. "We're placing you under arrest," Mace shouted over the clash of sabers. "You'll stand trial before the Senate." The Senate? Sidious's blade locked with Mace's. "I am the Senate." Then he was gone, vanishing through a hidden panel that irised open in the wall. Emergency protocols, evacuation routes built into the very bones of the building. By the time they reached the passage, blast doors had sealed it shut. Obi-Wan's hand found Anakin's shoulder. "You called us. You resisted him." Anakin's chest heaved. His entire body shook with adrenaline and fear and something that might have been hope. "I almost didn't. Obi-Wan, the things he showed me." Later, Mace was already at the window, watching the news speeders multiply. "Right now, we have a different battle to fight. Sidious just painted us as assassins on every channel in the galaxy." Below, the Senate district erupted in chaos. Sirens wailed, security forces swarmed, and somewhere in that vast cityscape, a Sith Lord was activating contingencies that had been decades in the making. Anakin looked at his trembling hands, one flesh, one metal. He'd pulled away from the darkness, but had he pulled away in time? In the depths of the Senate building, in a bunker shielded from all sensors, Palpatine spoke a single word into a comlink. Soon, across the galaxy, in the skulls of millions of clone troopers, buried protocols began to wake like sleeping serpents. The Senate chamber had become a battlefield of words. Padmé Amidala stood at the senator's podium, her voice cutting through the cacophony like a blade through smoke. She wore no jewelry, no ornament, only the simple tunic of Naboo and the absolute conviction of someone who'd seen democracy die before and refused to watch it happen again. "We have testimony," she declared, projecting a hollow image that silenced half the chamber. "Chancellor Palpatine, Darth Sidious, used separatist connections to orchestrate both sides of this war. The evidence is irrefutable." Bail Organa stood beside her, his normally gentle features set in stone. "An emergency ethics coalition has been formed. Alderaan, Naboo, Chandrila, and 47 other systems demand immediate investigation and interim governance." But the chamber was fractured. Some senators shouted support. Others, those who'd grown comfortable with emergency powers, who'd profited from war contracts, called for the Jedi's arrest. The air crackled with accusation and fear. In the Jedi Temple war room, Anakin watched the broadcast with mounting dread. Around him, masters and knights debated in urgent whispers. The temple felt too quiet, too still, like the moment before a blade falls. "The clone legions are reporting irregularities," Ki Adimundi reported, studying tactical displays. "Delayed responses, communication blackouts. It's subtle, but coordinated." Obi-Wan paced, his hand never leaving his lightsaber hilt. "He's had years to prepare for this contingency. Sidious doesn't gamble, he engineers." "Then we dismantle his engineering." The voice came from the doorway, familiar and defiant. Anakin's heart lifted. Ahsoka. She strode in, no longer a Padawan, but something harder and wiser. The months away had changed her, stripped away the last of the girl and left someone who'd seen the galaxy's shadows and chosen to fight anyway. Bail Organa contacted me, she said. Told me you'd need help. Told me, her eyes found Anakin's, softening, that you made the right choice. Before Anakin could respond, Mace Windu entered with a grim expression. We've found something. The Kaminoans have been less than forthcoming about clone conditioning protocols. There's a biocipher embedded in their inhibitor chips. What kind of cipher? Obi-Wan asked. The kind that turns soldiers into executioners. Mace pulled up a schematic. Neural pathways, chemical triggers, buried deep in the clones' minds. Designed to activate on specific command phrases. We're trying to decode the activation sequence, but the holodisplay flickered. Every screen in the war room blazed with an emergency transmission. Palpatine's face filled them, aged and weathered now, playing the victim to perfection. My dear citizens, he began, voice trembling with manufactured sorrow, I speak to you from a secure location after narrowly surviving assassination by the Jedi Order. Yes, those who swore to protect peace have become the very thing they claimed to fight. But fear not, I have activated certain necessary protocols for your safety, for the Republic. The transmission cut. In the silence that followed, Anakin felt something twist in the Force, a disturbance like a million voices crying out at once. His comlink exploded with voices. This is Commander Cody to General Kenobi we've just received. Static, then nothing. General Skywalker, Rex here. Sir, I'm getting orders that don't make any. The channel died mid-word. Across the galaxy, on 100 battlefronts, clone troopers paused. Their hands moved to their blasters with mechanical precision. Some resisted, those like Rex who'd grown beyond conditioning. But others, the cipher already flowering in their minds, turned toward their Jedi generals with empty eyes. The war had just turned inward. He's doing it, Anakin breathed. He's triggering them selectively, testing the system. Ahsoka was already moving toward the door. Then we find those clones who are resisting and get them out. Show the galaxy this isn't what they want. Wait. Anakin caught her arm. Ahsoka, if we're wrong, if we can't prove this, we won't be wrong. She met his eyes with absolute certainty. Because unlike Sidious, we actually believe in people. That's our advantage. Obi-Wan moved to Anakin's other side. She's right. But we need to be smart, surgical. We save who we can, document everything, and expose the truth before Sidious can seal his narrative. Mace nodded. Agreed. Master Kenobi, take a team to the clone medical facility. We need testimony from their doctors. Skywalker, you and Ahsoka trace the source of that cipher transmission. Find where the signal originates. Anakin wanted to protest, to demand they go after Sidious directly, but he'd learned something in that office tonight. Patience wasn't weakness. Sometimes the harder fight was the one fought with evidence instead of fury. Master Windu, he said carefully, Padmé is exposed at the Senate. If Sidious has loyalists, already assigned protection. Mace's expression softened marginally. I may disagree with attachment, Skywalker, but I'm not blind. Senator Amidala is a critical asset and, a pause heavy with meaning, she matters to you. That matters to me. Something unknotted in Anakin's chest. Thank you. As they dispersed, moving with the controlled urgency of a plan falling into place, Anakin felt Obi-Wan's hand on his shoulder. Anakin, what you did tonight, refusing him, that took more strength than any duel. It doesn't feel like strength, Anakin admitted. It feels like I'm standing at the edge of a cliff and I can't see the bottom." "Then we'll find the bottom together." Obi-Wan's smile was small but genuine. "That's what brothers do." In the depths of Coruscant's Undercity, in a bunker that had been prepared decades before Anakin was even born, Sidious watched his chess pieces move across holographic boards. Some would resist the conditioning. He'd counted on that. Resistors made for better propaganda, proof that the Jedi corrupted even loyal soldiers. He spoke into a secondary comlink, activating sleeper cells across the Senate and military. Phase 2. Target the temple. Make it look like the Jedi are preparing for war. His reflection in the dark screen smiled with infinite patience. The boy had refused him tonight, but the game was far from over. Skywalker would break. They always did. All it took was the right pressure at the right moment. All it took was making him watch someone he loved suffer. And Sidious knew exactly where to apply that pressure. 3. The cost of the light. The visions came at dawn, brutal and vivid, Padmé screaming, blood on white sheets, her hand reaching for his, falling short, falling still. Anakin woke, gasping in the meditation chamber where he'd tried to find rest. His body drenched in sweat, metal hand gouging marks into the stone floor. Just visions, he told himself. Not destiny, not inevitable, but his heart hammered against his ribs like a trapped bird. Anakin? Obi-Wan stood in the doorway, concern etched into every line of his face. The same dream? There was no point in lying. Not anymore. Every night for weeks, it's getting worse. Obi-Wan sat beside him on the cold floor, a gesture that would have been unthinkable months ago. The war had worn away certain formalities, revealed the bone-deep bonds beneath. "Tell me," Obi-Wan said simply. So Anakin did. He told him about Padmé's pregnancy, already showing if you knew where to look, about the dreams that felt less like visions and more like prophecies, about the terror that had driven him toward Palpatine's promises in the first place. "I'm afraid," Anakin admitted, the words ash in his mouth. "I'm afraid that refusing him means I've killed her, that I chose the Jedi code over her life." Obi-Wan was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of hard-won wisdom. "The dark side doesn't show you truth, Anakin. It shows you fear and calls it fate. Palpatine wanted you to believe her death was inevitable, that only his power could prevent it. But love isn't helpless. It's the most powerful force in the galaxy when wielded with wisdom." "Wisdom," Anakin repeated bitterly. "I'm not wise. I'm just human." Obi-Wan gripped his shoulder. "You're human, and that's enough. More than enough. Go to her. Tell her the truth, all of it. The pregnancy, the dreams, your fears. Let her help you carry this." "The council." "I'll handle the council." Obi-Wan's smile was wry. "I've had decades of practice managing their disapproval. Go." Anakin found Padmé in her apartment, surrounded by data pads and tactical displays, orchestrating the Emergency Ethics Coalition with the same determination she'd once used to liberate Naboo. She looked up when he entered, and the professional mask fell away, replaced by naked relief. "Annie!" She was in his arms before he could speak, her body warm and vital against his. "I've been monitoring the reports. The clones, some of them are resisting the programming. Rex got a message through. He's gathering others." "Padmé." He pulled back just enough to see her face. "We need to talk." They sat on the balcony as the sun rose over Coruscant, painting the city in copper and gold. Anakin told her everything. The visions, the pregnancy complications he'd foreseen, his terror of losing her. The words came haltingly at first, then in a flood, years of secret fear finally given voice. She listened without interruption, her hand never leaving his. When he finished, she was quiet for a moment, processing. "I'm not afraid," she said finally. "You should be." "I am." "No." She turned to face him fully. "I'm not afraid because I'm not helpless. Because I have access to the best medical care in the galaxy. Because I have you and Obi-Wan and people who will fight for us." Her hand moved to her barely visible stomach. "The dark side showed you one future, but we're writing a different one. What if I can't save you?" The question broke from him like a confession. "Then you can't." Her eyes held his, unflinching. "Annie, I knew the risks when I fell in love with you, when I chose to carry your child. I'm not asking you to save me. I'm asking you to trust me to fight for my own life, for our lives. And if the worst happens," her voice hitched, but held steady, "then it happens. But it won't be because you weren't enough. It'll just be life. The thing we're all fighting to protect." Something in Anakin's chest unlocked. Not the fear. That would stay probably always, but the suffocating certainty that he alone controlled every outcome. She was right. Love wasn't about possession or prevention. It was about partnership, trust, fighting together instead of for each other. "I want to marry you," he said, publicly. "No more secrets." Padmé's breath caught. "Annie, your place in the order is changing, has to change. The old ways, they almost destroyed me. Us. I can be a Jedi and a husband, a father." He said the word like a prayer. "If I can't, then maybe it's the Jedi who need to evolve." Before Padmé could respond, her comlink shrieked, "Emergency priority." Bail Organa's voice crackled through, tight with urgency. "Padmé, we've detected movement in the Senate. Sidious loyalists are planning something. Mas Ameda just sealed off the archive section. We need—" The transmission dissolved into static and screaming. Anakin and Padmé moved as one, grabbing weapons and comm devices. On the balcony edge, a Jedi shuttle descended, Ahsoka at the controls. "Figured you'd need a ride," she called. "Just got word there's an assault team heading for the Jedi Temple, Red Guard elites, the kind that can actually fight. Mace is coordinating defense, but we've also got a signature match on the transmission source for the clone activation codes." "Where?" Anakin demanded. "Coruscant Undercity. Deep. There's a stealth dreadnought in low orbit above it. Looks like a relay amplifier. We cut that, we might be able to free more clones from the programming." Padmé was already strapping on her blaster harness. "I'm coming." "Padmé, don't." Her voice was steel-wrapped in silk. "We just agreed partners. I have senatorial clearance that can get us past Undercity checkpoints. You need me." She was right. Anakin hated that she was right. "Fine, but you stay behind us. And if things go sideways, I improvise brilliantly as always." She kissed him, quick and fierce. "Let's go prove your visions wrong." The descent into Coruscant's Undercity was a plunge through the galaxy's shadow. The bright spires above gave way to corroded catwalks and lightless chasms. Here, the city's failures accumulated like sediment, the poor, the forgotten, the broken machinery of democracy. Ahsoka guided them to a chasm bridge spanning a kilometer-wide gap. Below, nothing but darkness and the distant glow of plasma refineries. Above, the stealth dreadnought hung like a mechanical moon, nearly invisible against the stars. "The relay is in that ship," Ahsoka said, "but first—" Red light ignited across the bridge. A dozen figures emerged from the shadows, wrapped in crimson armor and wielding force pikes that hummed with cortosis weave. Emperor's Red Guard, or what would have been Sidious's personal executioners trained to kill Force users. "He's been busy," Obi-Wan muttered, appearing from a parallel approach with a strike team of Jedi Knights. The bridge became a corridor of death. The Red Guards fought with mechanical precision, their pikes deflecting lightsaber strikes, their movements coordinated through some dark synchronization. Anakin found himself fighting beside Ahsoka, their styles meshing seamlessly despite the time apart. The familiar rhythm of master and apprentice evolved now into equals. Padmé provided cover fire from a maintenance alcove, her shots precise, taking down guards that flanked too wide. She wasn't helpless. She'd never been helpless. The battle raged across the span, lightsabers against cortosis pikes, the Force against disciplined brutality. Anakin felt the dark side pulling at him, the easy anger, the familiar rage. But he anchored himself to Padmé's voice, calling tactical updates, to Ahsoka's laugh as she disarmed an opponent, to Obi-Wan's steady presence at his back. This was what the light looked like. Not perfect, not painless, but together. They won, barely. And as the last guard fell, Anakin's comlink screamed priority override. Mace Windu's voice strained. "Anakin, we've intercepted another transmission. Order 66B. It's targeted. Specifically names you, Ahsoka, and myself as threats to be eliminated. He's trying to create martyrs, make you symbols of Jedi corruption." "Let him try," Anakin said, looking up at the dreadnought. "We're going to cut his strings." But even as he said it, doubt gnawed at him. Sidious had been planning this for decades. They'd foiled one move, then another. But how many more contingencies waited in the darkness? And somewhere above, in that stealth ship, another part of Sidious's game was already in motion. The hull of the stealth dreadnought was a cathedral of metal and void. Anakin and Obi-Wan spacewalked across its surface, magneto boots anchoring them against the pull of orbital mechanics. Below, Coruscant sprawled like a jeweled circuit board. Above, stars watched with indifferent light. Inside his helmet, Anakin's breathing sounded too loud. The silence of space was absolute, except for the Force, which sang with warning harmonics. "The relay station is forward near the command tower." Obi-Wan's voice crackled through the comm. "Ahsoka and her team are boarding from the ventral hangar. Padmé is coordinating Senate testimony from the surface. We need to time this perfectly." "When has anything we've done been perfect?" Anakin asked. But he was smiling. They breached the hull through a maintenance airlock, lightsabers cutting through security doors like butter. Inside, the ship was eerily empty. Skeleton crew, automated systems. Sidious built redundancies into everything, including isolation. The relay station pulsed at the ship's heart, a nexus of technology and dark side alchemy. Holographic data streams spiraled around a central cylinder, broadcasting coded signals to clone inhibitor chips across the galaxy. Anakin could feel it in the Force. Millions of minds bound by invisible chains, waiting for activation phrases that would turn them into executioners. "We shut this down. We free them," Anakin said. Obi-Wan was already at a terminal, slicing through security protocols with the borrowed expertise of a Republic tech specialist. "Not just shut down. We need to document everything, every command structure, every activation phrase. This has to be irrefutable." While Obi-Wan worked, Anakin stood guard, senses extended. That's when he felt it, the disturbance in the Force, sudden and violent. Not here, at the Senate. His comlink shrieked. Padmé's voice, tight with controlled panic. Ani, there's been an attack. Mos Amida and security forces loyal to Palpatine, they're claiming the Ethics Coalition is a separatist front. There are bodies. Padmé! Anakin's heart stopped. Are you? I'm safe. Bail got me out. But Annie, they're broadcasting it, staging the scene to look like we assassinated coalition leaders. It's a frame job, and it's working. The public is turning. Anakin's metal hand crushed the comlink casing. Rage flooded him, familiar and seductive. This is why you should have taken his power, a voice whispered in his mind. His own voice, or maybe Palpatine's. You could have prevented this. You chose weakness. And now people are dying. Anakin. Obi-Wan's hand on his shoulder was steady. Don't! They're killing them. Killing the people trying to tell the truth. Then we tell it louder. Obi-Wan gestured to the relay data he'd extracted. We have proof. Dates, commands, Sidious's personal authorization codes for the clone conditioning. This is the weapon Padmé needs. Anakin forced himself to breathe, to think. We broadcast it, not just to the Senate, to everyone, every clone trooper in the galaxy. Show them what was done to them. That's dangerous, Obi-Wan warned. If the conditioning is too deep, then we trust them to be more than their programming. Anakin moved to the terminal, fingers flying across controls. Ahsoka was right. People aren't pawns. We prove that. Or Sidious wins even if we destroy him. They worked in tandem, preparing the broadcast package, evidence of Sith manipulation, testimony from clone medics who'd discovered the chips, Kaminoan medical records Ahsoka had extracted, and at the center, a simple message. You were not made to be slaves. You have a choice. But before they could transmit, the ship lurched. Alarms screamed. Through the viewports, Anakin saw Senate Guard cruisers closing in, dozens of them, weapons hot. They're going to destroy the ship, Obi-Wan said, with us on it. Make us martyrs and erase the evidence. Then we transmit now and run. Anakin's hand hovered over the control. But if we broadcast this, there's no going back. The Jedi will be exposed. Our failures, our complicity in the war, the conditioning we should have discovered years ago. We'll lose the moral high ground. Obi-Wan looked at him steadily. We never had the moral high ground, Anakin. We just pretended we did. Maybe it's time we tried something else. What? The truth. Consequences and all. Anakin pressed the button. And that's how one choice, one heartbeat, changed the fate of an entire galaxy. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. It really helps the channel grow. Tell me in the comments, do you think Anakin could have stayed in the light? Or was darkness always his destiny? Thanks for watching, and remember, every what if begins with a single choice. See you in the next one.